welcome to the OTCQX Best 50 Virtual Investor Conference. On behalf of OTC Markets, we are pleased you've joined us. Today's presenters represent some of the top performing companies on the OTCQX Best Market in 2025 based on share performance and volume. Our next presentation is from Guanajuato. I'm excited to welcome JJ Jennings, Corporate Affairs Director at Guanajuato Silver, which trades on the TSXV under the symbol GSVR and on the OTCQX under the symbol GSVRF. Welcome, JJ.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the introduction. Again, I'm JJ Jennings. I'm the Corporate Affairs Director for Guanajuato Silver. I'm based here in Vancouver. And I have noted the statistics for presentations and videos like these, and I know there can be a very big drop-off in the first minute and a half or so. So what I'm going to do, in case you do have to leave, I'm going to give a little snapshot on Guanajuato Silver in the first 20 seconds here, so at least you'll have that. So we produce silver and gold from 5 mines in central Mexico. We have built the company through acquisitions. We've constructed it through acquisitions for exactly this moment, for the moment of higher silver and gold prices. We're big believers in the silver story. Yes, it's volatile. Yes, silver's down this morning, but we believe we're right time, right place. So if you're looking for a genuine precious metal producer with a silver focus, heavily leveraged to silver, then we need to be on your radar screen. All of our mines, as I just said, are in Mexico. It's a good place to look for silver because it is the #1 producer of silver on the planet. It has been for some time now. But no matter where you're producing in the world, silver is largely produced as a byproduct. I think over 60% of silver is produced from base metal production. And what that does, it creates an inelastic market. So I'll just explain that. So if copper were to go to $10 a pound tomorrow, I can guarantee you there'll be a whole bunch of copper projects and mines that would come online very quickly. It's not quite the same situation with silver. So in terms of a price response, the silver can go to $100 an ounce, and no one's going to then put a lead mine into production just to get the silver credit. So it's one of the reasons for you as silver investors. It's one of the attractions, one of the arguments for higher silver prices that got us into wanting to have a silver producer. Another one is increasing, it is the supply-demand imbalance. So the silver producers, of which Guanajuato Silver is one, are producing maybe around 800 to 850 million silver ounces every year. That number hasn't really changed much over the last decade, and there's nothing coming online ahead of us in terms of supply that's really going to dig into this deficit. In fact, it's poised to go higher because of increasing industrial demand for silver, driven largely, in large part, by the photovoltaic or the solar panel industry. So when I was a kid, they had 2 big projections for the future. One would be that we would all be flying around in flying cars by now. That has not happened yet. And the other one was that we would cover the Earth's deserts, these unproductive areas, with solar panels. And that's how we would power the planet going forward. In my opinion, that's one of the better ideas that human beings have ever had. So this is a look at the Benbar Solar Park in Egypt, one of the world's largest. You can see the Nile River over there. And it's got capacity of 1.8 gigawatts. So just look at that number, a gigawatt. What is it? A gigawatt today would power about 350,000 American-style homes, or close to 1 million average homes. A gigawatt, by the way, is about the average output of a nuclear power plant. And you need about 3 million solar panels to generate a gigawatt of power. And to do that, to build that out, requires about 500,000 ounces of silver. So I'm not sure what the final numbers were for 2025 last year in terms of new solar capacity, but I believe they hit 600 gigawatts. Certainly that's the projection for this year, and that's going to require 300 million ounces of silver. Not sure where all that silver is going to come from. This is a look at the Gold Mud Solar Park in China. They plan to move this over the next 5 years to 16 gigawatts. That would require 7 million ounces of silver going forward. In terms of the rate of change here, it's really, really dramatic. If you go back to the early 2000s, total world capacity, new solar capacity, was about a gigawatt every year. We're now today at a rate where we're doing well over close to 2 gigawatts every single day. So it is a dramatic change, and that's expected to continue. And I'll show this one more slide. This is another look at one of these solar parks. This one's actually in Mexico. And I like showing these parks because, in my opinion, they confirm that the business decision has been made. They're going to build out these parks to much larger commercial solar farms. This looks like a real estate development. You can see where this is going. There's no scale, there's no limit to scalability. You just keep adding solar panels and keep moving forward. And there's no substitute to the silver. So silver today is the #1 conductor of electricity. That will never change. Silver is so good at conducting electricity. It's the barometer upon which all other metals are based. And so as we build out this modern electrified world, every modern switch, every electrical device is going to require silver. The more complicated the electrical device, the more silver it's going to require. And in terms of solar panels, which again is a big driver of industrial growth for silver, anyone trying to tell you that this is going to be switched out, silver prices, for example, too high, they're going to switch over to copper solar panels, that's just someone trying to sell you a copper mine. So all of this bodes well for higher silver prices in the future. Again, we have 5 silver producing mines in central Mexico, and we're growing. We're growing through increased output, throughput through our mills. We're going through increased production. We're going through exploration, and we're growing through acquisitions. This is our latest acquisition. This is the Bolanitos mine. We just bought this in January of this year. It's now our largest mine in our portfolio. We paid $50 million for this mine. So as I go through this presentation, I'll try and highlight what we feel were bargain prices that we've paid for our assets. In this particular case, $50 million US, we thought at the time that we were paying full value for the asset. Endeavor Silver was the seller. I think they felt the same thing. But the terms for this transaction were set at around $30 spot price silver. So today, with silver being well in excess of double that amount, we again feel we've gotten a bargain. So another look at the Bolanitos mine. You can see the production from last year from Bolanitos here, and the mill itself has a lot of capacity. That is, and I'll highlight here in a moment how we plan to increase throughput as a way of increasing production for 2026. Bolanitos also comes with reserves. At this moment, Bolanitos is the only mining unit that we have that actually has reserves in the mineral category. Bolanitos, like all of our mines in Guanajuato, is located surrounding the actual city of Guanajuato. And it's a beautiful colonial city, well worth the visit. We actually mine those hills you see in the background. In fact, if you squint, you can see some of our infrastructure there. This format, and by the way, I apologize for my cough. I've been coughing for 3 months. This format for presentation has a Q&A at the end, which I'll get to. But there's been lots of news, negative news about Mexico over the past few months. And I know that in the Q&A, there will have to be, at least someone will ask about the security issues of Mexico. And since we're looking at a photo of Mexico, why don't I just jump into this right now? So I'm sure everyone on the call will know that there are geopolitical risks associated with Mexico, associated to organized crime in the form of cartels, which permeates throughout the entire country of Mexico. A little history. In 2006, the government at the time, President Calderon, declared war on the cartels, sent the military after the cartels. 70,000 people ended up dead, and obviously it didn't work because the cartels are still with us. Fast forward to 2018, and the government led by President Obrador, known as AMLO, this is a socialist government. Socialists are looking for the root causes of crime, root causes of poverty. They have a hands-off approach with the cartels. It's essentially leave them alone for the most part, hope for the best. In fact, they even have a slogan, which is hugs, not bullets. The current administration, led by Claudia Sheinbaum, is the protege to the AMLO government. They have the same strategy, which is more or less leave the cartels alone. But every so often, they do capture a major cartel member. And when they do, the cartel playbook is that for a few days, 2 or 3 days, they're going to have a flare-up. They'll burn some cars. They will shut down some roads, cause some mischief. And And that's what's occurred here at Puerto Vallarta a short time ago. The reason why you heard about this time, like for example, again, I'm pointing out this does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. The reason why you heard about it this time around, it made international news, is because it occurred in a tourist area, and the particular cartel member who was captured and died was particularly powerful, probably as powerful a cartel leader as has ever existed. So the response was that much more magnified. That takes, but again, it all dies down within 2 or 3 days. And we go back to what's normal. What's normal in Mexico is still not that great. And criminal violence in Mexico varies by region. So if you go up to Sinaloa, there is currently a civil war going on between two cartel groups. The Canadian company Vizsla got caught up in that. Some people were murdered. It was a big tragedy. For Guanajuato Silver, we have been very fortunate in where we are located. So all of our projects here in Guanajuato are anchored to this city. I believe that this city, which is the capital city of the state, and that gives it an elevated level of security, in the same way Mexico City has an elevated level of security. Secondly, we're not out in the hills. Okay, we're not out in the rural areas of the country where the bandits may be roaming. Yeah, we're right here. We mine within the city limits. And I'll just give you a third-party endorsement. So the U.S. Embassy has a no travel restriction on southern Guanajuato. This is a big state, by the way. It's the size of Belgium. So in southern Guanajuato, they have that restriction, but they do not have it here in northern Guanajuato, where our city is located. So again, I'll say we've been very fortunate, knock on wood. We hope that will continue going forward. That pretty city I just showed you, Guanajuato, which again is well worth a visit. And by the way, I'll just end by saying, for anyone on this call, I have no qualms suggesting you visit Guanajuato as a vacation. And of course, if you want to come down, we'll throw in a site visit. So the city itself is the gray area you see in the middle. All of our mines surround this city. The backbone of the Guanajuato Silver story is that we are consolidating this camp, the Guanajuato Mining Camp, which has one of the more storied histories in silver mining history. At one time, in the mid-1700s, this camp would have been providing at least a third of all the silver being produced on the planet. So we came here in 2000, recognized the opportunity for consolidation, and we've been successfully consolidating this camp ever since. And in fact, at this moment, we control all of the operating mines in the camp, and there's really only 2 players left. There's ourselves and Fresnillo. Fresnillo is the world's largest silver producer. You can see some of their mines there marked in gray, and it's no secret we want to own those mines too. Everything in green was owned up until the Bolanitos transaction. All the Bolanitos acquisitions are in blue, and you can see the incredible synergies here that go with this acquisition. So on the far left side of this map in green is our San Ignacio mine. It should have always been part of the Bolanitos mines complex. We were traveling about 10 kilometers as the crow flies to move material over to VMC, where we have one of our mills. But now that material is being shipped about, less than 3 kilometers up the road to Bolanitos. That's a look there at San Ignacio. That's the main portal. That's the waste dump there on the surface in the foreground. The Bolanitos stockpile, waste pile, is right there in the background. So again, these are in very close proximity. A lot of companies will talk about synergies. They'll buy a mine in Botswana and then another one in Quebec, and they'll tell you somehow there's synergies there. The synergies here don't get any better. When you go underground, everything in purple here is San Ignacio. Everything in red is Bolanitos. So you focus on that square there, that Purísima vein area. In Mexico, you would not mine within 30 meters of another company's boundary. Now this is all opened up to us. There are several examples, just like the one I'm showing you here. We're mining the exact same veins. The synergies here are incredible. So great savings in terms of transport costs, for example, and we are now integrating the Bolanitos mine complex into the main body of Guanajuato Silver. So if you go 10 kilometers, as I say, as the crow flies, you'll come to the city of Guanajuato, and you'll come to the Valenciana Mines Complex, VMC, where our head office is located and where our Cata mill is located. We put the Cata mill on care and maintenance in December of last year in anticipation of the transaction closing for Bolañitos, but we continue to mine underground at Valenciana the way they've been mining for the last 480 years. And that material is then taken about 10 kilometers, again, as the crow flies, to our Cubo mine, which is 10 kilometers to the east, and it's processed there. So Cubo was our first mine and purchased in 2021. The mill here is very large and it's got a lot of excess capacity available to it. And by the way, it was refurbished in 2012. It still looks like this. So if you come down for that site visit, you'll walk around this mill and it's just excellent condition. We look for ways to augment production here through toll milling and profit sharing and through a development project. So this is, in addition to the production that we have in Guanajuato, we do have one development project. It is called Pinguico. This was our original asset in the camp. Now, as we've been buying these mines, Pinguico keeps getting put back on the back burner. But we're capitalized now. So for 2026, this year, we'll do the necessary development. It's possible we get this up and running before the end of the year, but certainly 2027, we plan to be mining here at Pinguico. A very interesting history. It used to be the highest grade silver mine in the area. Was listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So what we'll do is we'll take this material and we will drive it up the road the 5 kilometers to Cubo for processing, where I just showed you there is significant capacity available to it. So those are the mines in Guanajuato. We also have an exploration project, which we'll start talking about in the summer. We're pretty excited about that. It's called Orcon. Again, it would be a restart technically. It's an older mine, but we're going to treat it as an exploration project. We're going to put a drill out there, and we're just going to drill that as a pure resource development project. So those are the mines in Guanajuato. You go 700 kilometers to the north, you come to Durango. That's where you have our Topia mine. The Topia mine's a little smaller. The mill is a little smaller, but we're mining. It's a polymetallic mine, so there's lead and zinc in these veins, which makes them very high grade. You don't have to be a geologist to find the vein. The vein is a little narrower than what you would see at in Guanajuato, but again, very high grade. The mill here, I think this is a good point to just stop, and I'm going to talk about the Capex development that we have planned for 2026, because I think it's very important for you as investors. It's really the backbone of how we plan to have success in 2026. So if you look at the history of Guanajuato Silver, you go back, we've been purchasing all these mines, we've been operating them all, we've been restarting them, getting them up to optimal production ideally. We have over 1,000 employees. We've been doing all that with no money in the treasury. And the way that has hurt Guanajuato Silver is we've gotten behind in terms of exploration and development. And when you get behind on those two, those are the two key pillars to a successful mining operation. You get behind, one day you wake up and maybe there's no ore on the patio for you to process. So in July of last year, we became fully capitalized. We're able to spend the amount of money that we need to spend on exploration and development. In fact, we're planning $35 million of Capex this year. We've never spent anything close to that in the past. Part of that will be a 75,000 meter drill program. About 2/3 of that is infill drilling. So what that will do is we'll move those resources, which are inferred and historical, and we'll move them up to the higher categories, including reserves. And then the other third of that, the exploration drilling, will look for new targets, look to grow the resource. We're planning 16 kilometers of underground development. That's all the tunneling, the drifting you do to get to the faces. You want to have multiple faces, like a dozen different faces that you can jump to at any one time. So that's, again, new for Guanajuato Silver. And as I say, we're catching up on both of those, and I can see that on a week-to-week basis. In terms of Capex, the one other thing I'll mention is this mill here at Topia will get about $5 million. We have $5 million earmarked for upgrades to the plant, preventative maintenance to the plant. And once that's completed here, I expect that the utilization rate, what you see at 60% there, can run higher and run higher at moving the significant grades that we see at Topia. We regularly mine 700 grams per ton, silver equivalent, 800 grams per ton. And what's the production going to look like in 2026? I'm sure you're all interested in that. I just told you that we're upgrading all our resources this year so that all of our mining units have reserves. Until we do that, we're a little bit, the regulators restrict our ability to provide full guidance. So what we're doing is we're showing you what these mines did in 2025. So what you're looking at right now is the consolidated production from all the mines currently in our portfolio, including Bolañitos, which we did not own last year. This is what all these mines generated: 1.8 million ounces of silver, 25,000 ounces of gold, and some lead and zinc, obviously. That's the benchmark. That's what we're looking to improve upon in 2026, these numbers that you see right here. This is the last reporting period, Q3, which does seem like a long time ago. Before I forget, I will just mention it right now because I'm sure that's a question in the Q&A. The next reporting period will be year end. That will come out next month, April. And then in May, we will generate Q1 results, and that will be the first time anyone sees a glimpse of the Bolañitos, the impact of Bolañitos, and the higher silver and gold prices. For now, this is Q3. With the addition of Bolañitos, which is a gold silver mine, the percentage of revenue, our revenue that comes from base metals, will shrink even smaller, probably about 5% in total, and the percentage from gold and silver will rise. So again, we're a genuine precious metal producer, leveraged to silver. So this is what we produce. We produce concentrates. We don't produce bullion. If you're not familiar with concentrate, that's what it looks like. But it doesn't look like much, but it's very valuable. Our concentrates from Guanajuato will run 3,000 to 4,000, maybe even a little higher, silver equivalent ounces. And then up at Topia, it's much higher, about 6,000 to 7,000 grams per ton silver equivalent ounces there. So what I thought I'd do, I'm just going to give you a practical glimpse into our business. I did this at a presentation recently, and people really liked it. So again, all of our mines are underground mines. We bring it to surface, we crush, we grind, we move it through a flotation system. A couple things happen in there. We generate a concentrate, which looks like here. We let it dry, and then we put that concentrate in the back of a dump truck, and we drive it down to the Port of Manzanillo for processing, or not for processing, for sale to our metals trader. Our preferred metals trader is Ocean Partners. And it's that transaction that I'm just going to highlight for you today. So on January 19th, we sold concentrate at $90.40 spot price. The 31st of January, we sold concentrate at $111.12 per shipment. So, and a shipment, by the way, would just be at least one truck. On March 6th, that's the last number that I have, $85.85. So I do know it's volatile, but I want to highlight that Guanajuato Silver, we're exactly where we want to be. We're right in the middle of this bull run in precious metals. We built the company for this moment, for a moment of higher silver and gold prices. And we are, as I say, we are highly leveraged to the silver price. This is how we've gotten here. What I will say is, I'll just make a comment on our chairman and CEO, James Anderson. He's been very good at finding bargains for Guanajuato Silver, bargains that we believe will ultimately be very accretive for the company and for our shareholders. We bought Alcoa back in 2021. We paid $15 million for the asset. The previous operator had paid $200 million for the asset. The next year, we bought 3 more mines. These were the former mining assets of Great Panther. Paid about the same amount of money, $15 million. We didn't do a transaction in 23 or 24, but we were aggressive. We were trying, and then in 2026, as I just showed you, we've bought Bolañitos. The company has grown through acquisitions, and you can expect this strategy to continue going forward. This is a look at the current share price. So we're on this call because we made the OTCQX top 50, and that to get on that list, it's largely based, as Michael mentioned off the top, by market performance. But I want to just say to everyone on this call, in no way does Guanajuato Silver believe that we have delivered a market success. You want two things. You want a technical success and you want a market success. And we still have work to do on both. Guanajuato Silver has not moved as per our peer group during this rise in silver prices. Who's our peer group? Our peer group is just about every other precious metal producing company. We haven't had a similar jump. In some ways, I believe it's justified because as per the last reporting period, which was Q3, we had not demonstrated to the market that all of these mines are fully profitable. Again, it's taken a lot of capital, a lot of time. They were all restarts to get them to this stage. But here we are on this threshold. I mentioned in May will be the first time you'll see the impact of Bolañitos and the higher silver and gold prices. I believe we're about to cross the threshold. And when we do that and demonstrate the cash flows that would be expected when silver and gold are at these prices, I think it will be rewarded in the market. And one of the reasons I think that is that the market does have its eye on Guanajuato Silver. We're the #1 volume trader on the TSX Venture Exchange across all industries. And we trade very significant volumes on the OTCQX as well. So I will just take quickly because I want to get to your questions and I promise I'll try to answer them all. Just mention one other fellow. I mentioned James Anderson, but Rick Trotman is well, we have two expats, but he's our primary expat in Mexico. And Rick has joined the company also in about July of last year. He's a geologist. He was a former mining analyst. And he has brought a level of operational discipline to Guanajuato Silver that I believe was lacking. Everything moving through our mills now is meeting minimum cutoff grade. We are genuinely mining for dollars. We're not mining for tonnage. And Rick Trotman is doing an incredibly good job. So on that note, I'm going to try to jump to your questions. I just want to put this on the screen. So if I don't get your question, they do provide me your emails, and I will today try to get to everyone. But if you have other questions, that's my email, jjj@gsilver.com, and my phone number, you can see it there. I'm always amazed that people would prefer to go to a bull board to ask questions about a company. Phone me. I will pick up. And I say that with some pride because I phone other companies. Nobody picks up the phone anymore. I promise I will take your call. So on that note, I'm going to try and change to the questions. And I'll just try to do them in order. There's a lot of questions here. So the question is, how many significant gold assets remain available for sale in and around Guanajuato? That's a very good question. I highlighted on the screen, I'll zip to it right now, that Fresnillo has, there we go. Fresnillo has 3 mines in the area. So Peregrina, Serena, and Las Torres. Las Torres also has a mill, which is actually the largest one in the area. So we've been talking, so I've been with the company for, let's say, 5 years. On my first day there in Mexico, we were meeting with Fresnillo talking about these assets. So we've been talking to them for quite some time. Whether or not a deal gets done, we shall see. We actually have processed ore for Fresnillo in the past, but we'll see. There are other opportunities in Mexico, and just in case, just to make it clear, we do look at other opportunities outside of Mexico, but nothing really beyond the United States at this point. With El Cubo, Topia, and Bolañitos running below capacities, what are the steps and timeline to move closer to full throughput? So that's a really good question as well. So all of these mills have significant capacity available to them. They're all running, let's say, in the 60 to 70 plus range at Bolañitos. So I've just shown you how at San Ignacio, we now have another source of mineralized material at Bolañitos. With San Ignacio, we will now move that material up to Bolañitos for processing. But the key is this, I said it earlier, in terms of the Capex investments we're making in terms of exploration and development, that's how you get to higher capacity, higher throughput, because you want to make sure you always have the maximum amount of mineralized material for processing on your patio. And I'll just say this too, the goal isn't necessarily 100% capacity, because what you really want is optimal capacity. So as you're increasing your throughput, you're often losing on recovery. So usually the number is somewhere around, I'll say 85, 90% would be optimal in terms of what we would like to achieve. If you haven't mentioned this by the time you read this, can you comment on a full NASDAQ New York Stock Exchange American listing? For the first time in the company's history, we are looking at that, but no decision has been made, and we'll see where that goes in the future. So I will quickly, I've been told to wrap it up, but I do have a question on all-in sustaining costs, because that's a really common question. People want to know about costs. Again, we're restricted in the amount of guidance we can do. The last reporting period, so that's Q3, our all-in sustaining cost was $40. Okay, which is quite high. I would say that for H1, the first half of 2026, all of the operating costs, all-in sustaining costs will remain somewhat higher, because all that Capex I told you about, $35–40 million, that's all going to be front-loaded. But I would say that certainly by the end of the year, we expect to be what I'll say industry standard, certainly run rate by the end of the year. So I'm not able to get all these questions. I promised you, everyone that has a question here, I'm going to respond to you. You have my information again. I will put it up on the board again. And at that point, at this point now, I'm going to, I guess, wrap it up, because I'm over my time. And I thank everyone for participating in this conference, and thank you for the time, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.